Hello, my Argo babies. Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about Chapter 8, Section 1, which is the presidency. And we're looking at kind of like the basics of what you need to be president and what kind of stuff they do. All right, so the qualifications, you have to be three things according to the Constitution, Article 2 of the Constitution. You have to be 35 years old, which will be tough for me since I'm 29 forever. I guess I can never be president. You have to live in the country for 14 years and be a natural born citizen. So that means that doesn't necessarily mean you have to be born in the country. You could be, for instance, John McCain, who ran in 2008, was born in Panama, but his parents were both United States citizens. So he was therefore a natural born citizen. How long do they serve? They serve according to the Second Amendment. I mean, before that, they've always served a 4-year term. But now with the 22nd Amendment, they can only serve 2 terms. Now, I know 2 times 4 is not 10, so why does it say 10 years maximum? That's because if they were the vice president and take over part of the president's term beforehand, like if they die or resign, if it was less than 2 years, then they can serve 2 terms after that. They make $400,000 a year. Some of the stuff they get Air Force One, which is any plane that the president's, it's not just that blue plane that you think of. Any plane that the president's on that's flown by an Air Force pilot is known as Air Force One. If any plane flown by an Air Force pilot and but the vice president's on it, it's called Air Force Two. They get free insurance. When they retire, they get a pension of $148,000 a year. And then, of course, the free house that they get to live in. And it's got 132 rooms, a swimming pool, a bowling alley, a movie theater, and tennis courts, and a rose garden. Whoops. Hang on, we're going to pause that for a second. I don't know what just happened. That was weird. Sorry about that. That was bizarre. Oh my gosh, it did it again. I guess I can't click on it. Okay, so the presidential succession. There's now it's always, in the original Constitution, it says that the vice president's the president in waiting. So basically, if he died, the vice president takes over. But they were trying to basically say, okay, sometimes it might not necessarily be a death. What if he gets, what happened with Woodrow Wilson? He was in a vegetative state for 18 months while president. What if he's still alive but can't do his stuff? So they kind of talked about that too. But they basically said, they also did the line of succession, which was, okay, if the vice president and the president die, it goes to the Speaker of the House, and then it goes to the President pro tem of the Senate. But here's the thing, I know this sounds more, and then the secretaries in order of when their department was created. So Secretary of State, Treasury. But I know this is going to sound morbid, but they don't all just bump up if the president dies. They would all have to, the vice president and the president would have to die at the same time for the Speaker of the House to become president. But basically it shows that line of succession. And if for some reason, okay, so if they die or resign or impeached or removed, vice president becomes president. If they die and all those other people die too, it's just whoever's the next in line. But what if they're disabled and they're still able to serve at some point, or they feel like they're just not going to be able to serve? Like I said, they have a stroke and are in a vegetative state. If that's the case, the vice president takes over if the president approves, or if the president can't. If the vice president, the majority of the cabinet approved, the vice president would take over. So let's talk about the vice president. What is their main role? Their main role is to be, according to the Constitution, 2 things: president of the Senate and take over for the president if the president dies. But they've had increased responsibilities over the year. They are a close advisor to the president. They represent the president overseas. They can be a diplomat, which means they work a lot with foreign policy, and they help out with the National Security Council and military policy. We've had some presidents use their vice presidents a lot. Other ones use them not at all. Probably the president that used their vice president the most would be, George W. Bush. He used Dick Cheney a lot. He was very influential. They actually made a movie about him called Vice, basically talking about how influential Dick Cheney was. All right, so that's it for today. Tomorrow we're going to talk about who works for the president. So I will see you guys later.